Good day, everyone. Welcome to my backyard. Today, I wanted to get into mindset around when things don't go our way. A lot of us have mindsets that respond or react with fear and anxiety and lack when things don't go our way, or even before we have found out anything and we're waiting to hear about something, or waiting to get a job, waiting to hear if we got the apartment, or just we're always anxious as to what is to come, and we're afraid that we're going to lose things. And if you think about it, if you are in this state of mind, okay, what this does to your body and your nervous system, right, releases cortisol, which is your stress hormone. Okay, keeps you in a fight or flight state. Your body's all like afraid, heightened all the time, and not calm. And they say that whatever your mind thinks and however you feel about what you're thinking with that emotional charge is exactly what you're going to experience and attract in your life. And manifestation talks about this as well. This is how we manifest things in our lives, is with emotional charge and what we're thinking about. So if you're in a constant state of worry and angst all the time and thinking the worst case scenario, and that's what you're thinking about, then what if that's exactly what you are attracting into your life? Okay? And if it is just as easy, like if you're just like, well, it makes sense, obviously, like it's logical, like this could happen, that could happen. If it's logical and it makes sense for you to think in a certain way, okay, which what you have is a mindset. You're always worried. Well, I'm a realist. I think about everything that could happen. Okay. So, but if nothing hasn't happened yet, okay, and you're being a realist and you're thinking about all the possible scenarios, why are you thinking about all the possible scenarios that could happen? Because you're worried and you're anxious. And when we're in this state, like I said, what if you are attracting those very situations that you're thinking of could actually happen? And if it's easy enough for you to worry and to be anxious and to think about the worst case scenario, who's to say that it would be just as easy for you to think about what is the best case scenario in this situation? And I talk about this because I came from this mindset, always thinking about the worst case scenario, and I still go there. And now when I catch my old patterned way of thinking going to that place, I stop myself and I'm like, whoa, we don't do this anymore. Okay? Because when I'm thinking about the best case scenario, I'm like, oh, wow, damn, that would be awesome. And now, am I releasing cortisol right now? And am I in a heightened fight or flight state? No, I'm relaxed and feeling a little bit excited because I'm thinking about the best thing that could happen out of this situation. And whether we're thinking about the best thing, the best scenario, or the worst scenario, nothing has actually happened. So why? Why, if we're gonna think about what's going to happen in the future, why waste our time thinking about the worst thing that could happen, creating stress in our body, and then possibly attracting those very situations, those negative, worst case scenario situations into our life? Why not start practicing thinking about the best case scenario? Okay. So I'll tell you a little story that happened, I don't know, 5 years ago or something. I was at a job that was just a means to an end job, okay? And it wasn't something that I wanted to do long term. It was just what I had to do at the time. And I had been there for about a year and a half. And, I had a boss there that was starting to really pee me off. Anytime I took a day off, he'd always come up to me and kind of like passively aggressively say, "Oh, better stop taking days off. You might lose your job. Like, he wouldn't say that, but he'd say it in so many words. Kind of like in a bullying sense, right? And it's not like I took a lot of days off. It's just when anybody took any work off, he would just give you shit. And it was like it was an agency job, so it wasn't like a full-time, locked in benefits type job. Anyway, so I'd been working there for about a year and a half. And so in the month of December, I I applied for another job that I wanted. So yeah, it was a job that I wanted. And then in, I think it was December, January, February. February, this is when, like I said, my boss started to just, like, I mean, he always treated me like that and other people, and I would just kind of like ignore it. But there was this one day, and again, I tended to be kind of like passive, where I wouldn't like really say anything, and I'd let people just kind of like bully me. Not all the time, but like sometimes, like depending on who you were, actually, especially from like jobs and stuff. Like if it was my boss or whatever, and I was scared of losing my job, I would, just like take it sometimes. But I was starting to get really upset, and so part of like my whole like healing and growth is like standing in my power. And so one day he confronted me, my boss, in the calf, and he said the same thing again about like, oh, you should probably stop taking days off, you never know what'll happen. And I looked at him and I said, what are you trying to say? Are you trying to tell me that I'm going to lose my job? Do you want to just be straight up with me? I wasn't yelling, right? I wasn't being rude. I was just calling him out on his bullshit, pretty much. Sticking up for myself. He went and backed up, and as if I was like gonna fight him or something. And he's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, well, why are you saying this to me? What are you trying to say? Just spit it out. Anyway, that was on a Wednesday. And I don't know, I still don't know to this day if it has anything to do with what happened, but it just kind of like lines up and makes sense. But that was a Wednesday, and on the Friday, and again, I'd been working there for like a year and a half, okay? 2 days later, I got a call from the agency, and they're just like, you're being let go for shortage of work, okay? You can imagine I'm freaking out. And at the time, I'm only making like minimum wage, which is like 15 bucks an hour, okay? Like, I lose my job. I don't have, like, I wasn't good at saving money back in the day. And so, whatever, I remember that Friday just feeling really, you know, worried, okay? Again, something's, like that happens. You lose your job, you lose your finances, and I'm feeling afraid and anxious, right? Not allowing that faith and belief to kind of just come in, and knowing that everything will work out. Although I didn't spend a lot of time this time feeling worried and afraid, but in the past I would have, okay? So I lost my job on the Friday. I still had 2 weeks to go till the end of, being let go, but still I lost it on the Friday. Literally the following Monday, and remember I told you I applied for a job that I wanted in the December before the February. I got a call from the job placement saying, would you like to come in for an interview? And I said, great, yeah, for sure, I'll come in. Went in for the interview Wednesday. They called me Thursday. They're like, you got the job. Can you believe it? So, and on top of that, so because I was being let go for shortage of work, this meant that I could apply for some sort of financial assistance, okay, because I wasn't being fired. And so, and then the job that I got was only half day, okay? So it worked out that I could apply for this financial assistance, and I could also start this new job, because if you have a full-time job, you can't like apply for the financial assistance. So because I didn't get fired, I was able to apply, and he let me go, and I didn't have to quit, because if I quit, I wouldn't get any financial assistance, right? So I got this half day job, and I was able to apply for financial assistance. So technically I was getting almost like full-time full-time pay. My point is that everything ended up coming full circle and working out literally in the nick of time. Like, I got fired Friday, and not fired, let go for shortage of work Friday, and then the Monday pretty much was like, hey, come in for this interview, okay? And I always tell people this story as an example, okay? That if you look back in your life, okay, and even if you've had shitty stuff happen to you, if you look back and you think carefully, there's always things or situations that are also working out for you. And so if you look back at your timeline and you really think with a grateful heart, right, with an open heart so that you can remember all the times that worked out for you, then you'll realize that life just always works out. And if you continue with this mindset of life is always working out for me and trusting that things always work out, then number one, you're going to feel in a calm state. You're going to feel relaxed, and you're going to feel full of faith and belief that things are always going to work out. Okay? And that is a much better feeling than to be in the state of fear and anxiety. Okay? So number one, it's better to feel in a higher state of faith and belief than it is to be in a state of fear and anxiety, especially if nothing has even happened yet. You're just exciting your body and stressing your body out for what? Right? Because you're a realist? Okay, that's number one. And number two, if we manifest what we think and how we feel, and we are the creators of our lives, like they say, okay, and like cognitive psychology says, that whatever we're thinking about in our minds, we're actually priming ourselves to notice these things in our environment. So many things in science and spirituality point to this same truth of we manifest exactly how we're feeling, okay? And we feel based on how we think, right? So if you can start to make it a habit of interrupting your pattern of angst and fear and worry, things will start working out for you. And you will be in a calmer state, waiting for those things to come and happen. Another short story that I want to tell you, okay, to just believe that things always end up working out, okay? My cat, a few years ago, they spend time outside. I have two of them. And one of my boys, when he was younger, didn't come home one night, okay? So we lost him for a few days. Me and my partner crying, freaking out. I'm putting up like cat pictures, like photos of him all around the neighborhood, okay? Looking all around our neighborhood for him. Okay, and about 2.5 days went by, and I went, and we still didn't find him. And I went to work. Actually, no, I'll tell you about this thing first. So we're walking down the street, and we're talking to one of the neighbors, and he's like, "Oh," we're like, "Oh, have you seen our cats?" He's like, "Oh, your cats are always hanging out in my backyard." And I was like, interesting. And then he's like, "But they're not here. I haven't seen them." I'm like, "Okay." So I started walking, and I thought to myself, well, if they hang out in his backyard, that means that they probably go on his fence, which means that they probably go onto that other street over there. I ended up dismissing that thought. I was like, you know what? Probably not. But that came to my mind. Okay? So whatever. That day we didn't end up finding the cats. The next day I had to go to work. All day, not all day, for half the day I'm worried and afraid. And I started to think about the worst case scenario. My cat is dead. Okay? And then I ended up interrupting my pattern because I started to feel very anxious and upset and afraid and sad. And I literally wrote a note, and I was like, "Hey, Sai," I'm like, I can't, Sai's my cat's name. "I can't wait to see you. I love you and I miss you. We, we all can't wait for you to come home. I'll see you soon." And I put myself in that state of like, he's alive. I'm going to find him. He's going to come home. Okay. Literally on my way home from work that day, it came to my mind to go down that street that I had thought about that day. Okay. Because we talked to that guy. Now I'm realizing, obviously, we talked to that guy for a reason. And so I'm like, I'm going down that street. Did you know? I ended up going down that street. Okay. Walking down the end, all of a sudden I hear meow, meow, meow. I see my cat on the freaking roof. Okay. So my point to that story is put yourself in a state of calm, of a state of relax, okay? anytime that I lose something, not even the situation with my cat, which was amazing, by the way, okay? But anytime that I realize that I misplaced something and I start panicking, and this came to me years ago, something just told me to like calm down. As soon as I calm down, I literally, it comes to me, my body just takes me to a drawer or a counter or whatever, and I end up finding what it is that I'm looking for. So I'm sure that you see my point in all of these examples is to have faith and to believe that everything always works out for you and that you'll always find what you're looking for. Change your mindset from fear and angst, worry, to trust, belief, knowing, powerful, calm. And when you start to practice this way of being, you'll notice that you'll start to attract all of the things that you want in your life because you're believing that everything already works out for you. Okay? I hope you guys enjoyed my talk today, and I hope to see you in my next video. Have a nice day, and remember to stay mindful.